This space is unique, one of the more unique reuse projects I've ever worked on. The library's been trying to build an expansion in the back since 1960, and they were never able to really accomplish it. In 2006, we started looking at alternative ideas, and that was an idea about how much we can utilize the space in this building to kind of offset that. And that was the seed of the idea here.
We really began looking at what was the possibility, how much money we were going to raise, and what was the potential of this building to give more. And the project that we're in now actually began with Moshe Safdie and his architects.
I had arrived and seen what I thought was this grand old lady, beautifully detailed and constructed, but terribly neglected and abused. As we came to just focus on restoration and reconfiguring spaces and reusing spaces, I put on another hat. I'm now in the mode of invisible mending, really fixing the place up to what I think was the intention of the original architect. And it started slowly, step by step. We did the front of the building first, the lower floor, and then the assignment to reconceive the stack area, 6 levels of stacks, which were no longer useful in terms of how the books are stored and where they're stored, into a couple of new rooms, which was the challenge of this particular design.
I've been doing this for years and years, and I think this is the first time where it felt like everybody was on the same page about what needed to happen.
And it all started with trying to figure out how to move 1 million books. I think once we were able to achieve that, then I think everyone believed that we could do this. And so it went from there.
In 2005, we started by identifying the structural grid. So we came through and we measured column to column just to understand the building in an overall sense.
The space was just dark and dingy, cold, an area just where there was no life left in that space. As we started the demo, the light just started to creep in as shelving came down, and then we go down 40 feet below us. That's the basement level. So then you're looking up and letting that natural light come in. Finally, it brings life into the building itself. Being that it's 100 years old.
I wanted to maintain the memory of what had been there, and that is why I preserved 2 full walls of stacks, so that when you walk into that space, and it's now what was 6 levels of stacks has become 2.5 levels of space, you'd remember that there were stacks. They're right there for you to see, iron, steel, just as they were. I see it as a kind of an art wall of the books that had been there, some artist installations integrated into them. It's kind of the playful element in the space that distinguishes it from just having the rooms less adorned.
When I walked into the stacks area and I saw the abandonment, the reference to the history and what had been there and the grandiosity of it, within 5 minutes I already knew what I wanted to do. There are 4 boxes with 8 sides, and there are 8 layers in each box, so every side is in the front of one box. The frame on the boxes is made from the original shelving from the stacks. It dates back to 1927.
We're now adding to that story of that building. Safdie translated the vision from the library, and then we translated Safdie's vision, and Driscoll translated that combination of visions.
To bring this space to what it is, where it's full of brightness and natural light, has really brought it to life.
I've been in this building many times, and it's just one of the most beautiful buildings in the city.
For me, library is kind of the opportunity to create a great living room for the city. Public libraries are really evolving to become the most inclusive public institution in the city that serves everybody.
Instead of being an old stodgy place for books, that it really becomes a very intuitive people place. 21st century libraries really do have to have an open conversation, living room kind of space, so that's what the Heim Center was designed to do.
The spaces are kind of a weaving together of the language of the old building with a little few introductions here and there. And a case in point is the grand stair. The original grand stair design of the architect was to take you down and back to where the public spaces were. Well, we needed to reverse that. And that gave me the thought that we can play a little trick here and create what I call our little Escher stair. And so you have multiple choices. You can come up and go up to this direction or the other direction. And so it's playful.
The connection from the front to the back is now complete in a way that it wasn't forever. And it works. Like, I couldn't imagine doing it any other way.
And when this is open to the public, well, almost 68%, the public will be able to walk around it. So people can enjoy this historic building.
Giving the space back to the community.
Yeah.
You know, the public building, giving the building back is just such a great idea.
It's now a place of education. It is much more diverse in its activities than the library of old. And I think the new library, therefore, both in terms of its expanded mission and social activities and so on, is a new kind of building type.
It really does reflect how libraries are changing and evolving in the 21st century. And it's just the beauty of the space and how it makes so much sense relative to everything else that happens in this building.
It still takes my breath away when I come in this space.
Every time I walk into it, it's a wow. It's like, damn, we did it. It's a special space in that regard. Been working on it for a long time, but it just turned out great. Better than we expected, so that's what I think.